Two. That's perfect. Glad you guys are here. Okay. All right, so just as a reminder for everyone as you come on in, and I'll remind everyone a couple times as we go through that if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A bar at the top there, and we will get to those at the end. I'll be able to see them all and we can go through them. And so just make sure that you keep the questions relevant to the topic and just in general, something that is going to help everyone. If you have any specific questions for your business, that's something we can definitely chat about offline. Just shoot me an email or something like that. But it is 4:30, so I want to get started because like I said, we've got a lot of ground to cover, which I'm excited about. So welcome to everybody who's here. This is our second digital marketing mini session, and I'm very excited about it. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video because I want you to be able to see all the content I'm sharing. And so we're just going to dive in. Just so you get to know me a little bit better, because I know I saw some new names. My name is Hannah, and I founded Westfall Digital Strategies in the spring of 2019, so about a year ago now, which is exciting. I'm a DC native, so I'm from here, born and raised, but I spent the last 6 years in the South. So if you hear a little bit of an accent or I drop a couple y'alls, that's where that came from. I had quite a few roommates who were very, very deep South. Love them to death and picked up their accents for sure. So I know you're not here to listen to me talk about myself, so let's get into it. Today we're going to cover the very basics of SEO. So we're going to talk about the vocabulary that you need to know, how it works, some basic strategies and how to audit your current site. We're going to talk about keywords and keyword research, and I do have a template to share with you for that. I have a couple of those. We're going to talk about on-page optimization. We're going to talk about analyzing your results, and then we're going to have that Q&A session at the end. So again, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in that chat or in that Q&A section. We'll get to them at the end there. So let's dive in. All right, so what is SEO? Oh, we just did that. Okay. Here we go. So it is short for search engine optimization, and it's a process of optimizing your online content to be easily found by Google or any search engine when a query, aka a question or a search, is submitted by a user. And this is an organic tool. So Google Ads also uses keywords, as does SEO, and so a lot of times people combine the two. This is a way for you to generate organic growth. So why does this matter? So SEO brings content to people as they're actively searching for that topic. So for example, if someone were looking for a social media manager or tips on how to use social media to market their business, I want to show up because that's what I do. And the nice thing is I don't have to convince them that they need that because they're already looking for it. So I like to think of it as a much warmer lead than if I were to just, shoot someone an email or give them a call and say, hey, can I help you with your social media? So that's why SEO can be really, really helpful, because people are going to be searching for the content that's relevant to you. The next piece is which vocabulary words do we need to understand, or the terms. So there's quite a few here, and this is not a comprehensive list by any means. These are going to be your basic terms that are helpful to know. So your index is going to be how content is filed. So when someone talks about indexing, that's how Google or a search engine takes your content and files it away so that it can pull it out easily and serve it up to people when they're looking for it. And a crawler or a crawl, or sometimes a Google bot is another word. These are digital robots essentially that go across the web and they pull information from each page so that the search engine knows what to index and how to index it. And they do this every single time that you update your page, and they're constantly looking for the latest data. So that's helpful and important to know, because when you update your website, even with small tweaks, it can change your SEO and your results. So being aware of that is really helpful. Rank, that's also a term you're going to hear, and that's pretty simple. It's just where your website or your content shows up on the search engine results page. So think of those blue terms that come up in those blue links when you search something. Those are ranked in a certain way according to how Google indexes that content. Your authority directly impacts your ranking strength, so how relevant your content is to what's being searched and whether or not other people have shared it. So Google takes into account how many times people have shared content or created backlinks, which is, like it says right there, linking from one website to another. And so with a lot of people maybe talking about taxes recently, they're maybe linking to the IRS. And so Google looks at that and says, oh, okay, this IRS site must know what they're talking about because so many people are linking back to its content. And so it takes all of that into account. So understanding those simple terms can help you figure out kind of where to focus your time and energy, what to focus on if you're hiring someone. And if you do work with someone, they'll likely use these terms. And so understanding what they mean is really helpful. So what can SEO do? A lot of times people can get these things confused, and it's really helpful to know exactly what it can and can't do. So SEO can attract people to your content that's already created via search results. It can control how your brand shows up in search results, so you can, create ways that it doesn't show up for certain content and it shows up for a more specific niche. And it can nudge people towards your brand and content in search results. So I'm sure if you're like me, if you've searched something and you get 1 million hits and the top 3 links you're like, any of them look kind of good. Based on how people have created those metadata descriptions or the headlines that they use, all of that makes you want to click into it. And so it'll nudge people towards clicking your content as opposed to someone else's. So those are just a couple of things that SEO can do. Let's talk about what it can't do. So SEO can't grow or create search demand on its own. So if people aren't looking for what you're offering, or if they aren't looking for it in the way that you've set up your SEO, then people aren't going to be able to find it. So just because, just like anything, if you invent something, but no one knows that they have a problem that you have the solution to, they're not going to know that they need to buy what you're inventing. So it's kind of that same concept. It can't build your brand by itself. So it can send people to your website, which is what builds your brand, or to your social media, or to all the different content that you have. But in and of itself, it is not a branding tool. It just helps and supports your other branding and marketing efforts. It can't directly convert customers. Just like any or most marketing things, what it does is it directs people to you, to your sales team, or to your intentionally created conversion tools. And so thinking that you can just update your SEO and all of a sudden get sales can be really disappointing. The other thing that it can't do is satisfaction for searchers. So it doesn't guarantee that people are going to be satisfied with the content that they search if you don't put it in correctly. So for example, if I started putting my SEO together so that people who are searching for cute puppy videos find my content, they're going to be really disappointed when they come across my website and there's not a single puppy there. So that would be very confusing. And the last thing, which I think is very, very important, is it doesn't work overnight. So this is a long-term plan and strategy, and so you really should expect it to take anywhere from 18 to 24 months to see major results, which is also why it's good to start early and to start now, because you don't want to wait until you really need some new leads or to generate some new options for revenue. And then start and come in and do your SEO, because it's going to take time. So that's a very quick overview of the basics. If you have questions, drop them in that chat or that Q&A section. But we're going to move on to strategy. I know we're flying through. All right, so the strategy. So with anything, you have to start with the big picture, and your SEO strategy is developed in a particular way if you do it right. So your SEO strategy supports your marketing goals, which in turn are supposed to support your business goals. And so the easiest way to create the best strategy for your SEO marketing is to make sure that they're connected to those larger goals. So we'll go through a really quick example. So for example, if I have a business goal of 10 recurring social media management clients at a certain dollar amount per month, that's my overarching business goal. That's how I'm going to sit down and decide to promote and to market my business. And one of the ways I might choose to market is to set up a goal to build up some brand awareness and to connect with ideal clients at that top of funnel platform level. So this could be things like social media, it could be different email chains, things like that. So those are my marketing goals. And then my SEO goal would be to rank in the top 3 organic search results for digital marketing agencies, social media, like all these different keywords, which is very specific, and that's going to take a while. So that's helpful to know. So knowing that that's my goal and that I want to rate or rank in that space, because it's ultimately going to support my larger goals. Because if I'm showing up for search results in digital marketing agencies in DC, people are going to see my website. And if they see my website, then they'll go in, hopefully, look around, see whether or not I can help them, and then click into either scheduling a call with me. Maybe they'll sign up for my email newsletter, check me out on Instagram or some other platform. And so all of that is going to support these larger goals. So that's a really key piece in understanding how you're going to set up your SEO. Because if you don't know what you're trying to do with it, then you don't know how to create the correct goal and the correct strategy. So quick overview there. Let's talk a little bit about how you would implement that, because that's kind of some very big picture stuff. So for example, if my goal again is to build up my authority on Google so that I can rank in those really high spots organically, then the way I can do that is first, I want to research my keywords. And my strategy is going to be to use really high demand keywords, but low competition. So these are things that people are searching for often, but don't necessarily have a lot of competition when it comes to results. And so when you do your keyword research, you can find that content. And so I'm going to choose those words carefully, going to research extensively and figure out what words I want to use on my site. Then I'm going to create and update my keyword list. I'm going to revisit it every once in a while, make sure, look at how things are going. And then I'm going to create content. So whether it's blogs or videos or webinars like this one, I'm going to create them consistently. So maybe like every week, and share it based on the keywords that I chose to rank for. So if I want to, rank for search engine optimization as a service, then I might list that as part of the title for this webinar when I share it on my website, things like that. And then I could intentionally include those keywords in titles. I would update my current online content, and then I would request and submit even this content to be shared on other platforms. So maybe I'd reach out to a couple friends of mine who I could say, hey, I did this webinar. Would you mind sharing it on your platforms? Or like, if you like it, can you share it? That kind of stuff. And so all of that's going to create backlinks. So doing all of that work is going to help to support that goal of reaching number 1, 2, or 3 in those keyword rankings. So I know that's a lot. Those are only 6 steps, but there's hundreds that go underneath that. And I have a worksheet that'll help you kind of break these things down. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay. We'll walk through it. Don't worry. To kind of help with that, I like to give practical action item steps. And so these are the 3 things that you should do this week, this month, sometime soon. The sooner the better, is first define your SEO goals. So if you already have some, go back and revisit them. Just make sure that they're on par with your marketing and business goals, and create your SEO strategy. And then thirdly, you're going to want to break down your goals into bite-sized pieces for the next 90 days. So what are you going to do each day, each week, and each month for the next 90 days to reach that goal? And these are good practices just for any goal that you have. And I have a goal guide and then also an SEO strategy worksheet that I'll share with you guys as resources in the follow-up email. So you don't have to go and reinvent the wheel or anything like that. So that's where you want to start with your strategy there, and then break it down. Okay, so next we're going to talk about keywords and keyword research. Get into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty here. All right, so keywords. They're basically just the words and phrases that people use to find things on the internet. And Google over time has figured out how people search things more and more frequently, and they really focus on the intent of the search, so that's helpful. But when it comes to research, using these different tools like Google Plan or Keyword Planner, Ubersuggest, Keyword Finder, Ahrefs, like all of these are really great tools. I use Google Keyword Planner mainly because it's free, and I already use the Google Ads and Google Analytics, and so it's all connected, and it just makes it really easy for me. But Ubersuggest is also a great free option there, and all the rest of these are pretty much some kind of premium. So if you're not super into your SEO, check out, at least start with the Google Keyword Planner and then see if you want to pay some money to do a little bit of that higher level work there. But I've been very satisfied with just using Google. They know what's up. So the best way to go through it is to, if you're using the Keyword Planner, is to create an account. So you'll have to create a Google Ads account and put it in there, but then you'll navigate to the Keyword Planner tool and you're gonna click on Discover a New Keyword. These are just some screenshots on the page, but you'll be able to find them. And then once you're there, you're gonna add your keywords and phrases. So this is after maybe you've brainstormed, you've thought about, okay, what are the things that I would search for if I was looking for my services, but also really importantly, what are the things that other people would search for? So, I know as a social media marketer that that's a term that I use, but some people aren't aware that that's a way to describe that job. So they might be like, how do I promote my business on Instagram, or marketing Instagram? Like all these different things, you're going to want to think through all the different ways people would look for your content and for what you do. So that can be really, really helpful. Then after you do that, sorry guys, I clicked a button there. There we go. After you go through that, you will see which keywords pop up. And the nice thing about using that Discover New Keywords option is you will be able to see any other recommendations from Google. So they'll be able to say, okay, here's what you put in and this is how it ranks. But here's some other options that you might find that could be helpful that other people have searched for as well. So that can be really, really helpful if you're not really sure where to start. And then the last piece there is to add them to your keyword bank in Excel or to your ad group. So I like to have them in an Excel file just so I can look at them regularly, keep them updated, and track them a little bit better. But you can keep them in any kind of system that you want that works for you. And I'll share that one that I use. So here are your action steps. So get a Google Ads account and explore the Keyword Planner. Download the template that I'll send you guys, and then just select 10 keywords that you want to focus on ranking for, because you'll quickly find that there's 1,010,000 different things that you could rank for or try to rank for in different variations. But by selecting 10 keywords to focus on, you can start to dip your toe into that and really play around and see what it looks like to update your content there. So that kind of makes it a little simpler, keeps it a little bit more easy to navigate. But again, keywords are really, really important. Okay, next we have the on-page optimization. So what the heck is that? It's the practice of optimizing individual web pages in order to rank higher and earn more relevant traffic in search engines. So on-page refers to any of the content and the HTML source code of a page that can be optimized, as opposed to off-page SEO, which is links or external signals, things like that, which can get a little more complicated. So it's the content of your site, but it's also the coding of your site that has an impact on this. So don't worry if you're not a major coder, that's totally fine. Think of things like the URLs or the navigations to get places. All of that kind of stuff is the coding that you can start with. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so here's a really simple checklist. We'll kind of go through it and we'll dive a little deeper into the follow-up email with some terms and descriptions and things like that. But the first thing you want to start with is to make sure that you have descriptive and compelling keyword-rich title elements. So those are the names of the pages on your site. So if you have a service page, then the name service is the title of that page. For example, on my website, I have different pages for each service I offer. And so making sure that I go in and that I have the title of that page listed as, social media marketing or social media guru, or like whatever it is making sure that I'm using my keywords in the actual page title, both on the page and in the URL. And then the meta description, that's designed to make people click. So think of the little blurb that's at the bottom of the search result when it comes up on Google. And there's different ways, depending upon your platform, how you can update that. But this is just essentially a quick summary of what that page is about, and you want to create it in a way that's going to make people click. So if I wrote a blog post, about SEO, I might include in there, free templates available or something like that. People will be like, oh, I like free things. Like, let me click into that. So being quick to put those kinds of things in there, that still shows people what the content is about and know what to expect, but makes them want to click into it. The other piece is to create easy and short URLs. So having, a long blog post title is, it's okay, but make sure that if it's long, that you update the URL to be shorter. So if I had something like how to revolutionize your website SEO for the spring, I might just say update SEO in the URL title, because that's going to be a lot easier for Google to index and a lot shorter. And the next thing is to just optimize that first paragraph for how it's going to appear in that kind of meta description and the snippet area. So those can kind of be interchanged depending upon your platform. Sometimes they're described the same way, but the snippet is basically what's going to be pulled anytime your content is shared. So if it's being shared on LinkedIn, you might see how sometimes it pulls the content and gives a little summary at the bottom. And so knowing what's going to be showing up there is really helpful, and it often pulls from that first paragraph. That's also where Google will first look at your content and use that to rank it and to index it. So if you have keywords in that first paragraph, that is really helpful for that as well. Like it says there, keywords intelligently used in the headline, the first paragraph, the page content, and any internal link anchors. So basically, if you have a long page and you have people jumping on different places to different content on it, making sure that you're using good keywords in those places, but in ways that make sense. So that can get a little tricky, but that can be really helpful, especially if you're updating the copy on your page. All right, these last two are a little bit more in depth, so we'll just talk a little bit about them, but they're a little bit higher level that I don't want to get into them and run out of time. So leveraging things like your ratings, or if you have recipes, things like that, and then even the captions that you use, how you list the file names of images, all of that kind of content impacts your SEO. So I know we're running close to time, so we're going to move on to analyzing your SEO real quick. Why do you want to do it? Because you want to know if it's working, right? So the three things that you really want to focus on when analyzing your SEO is to check out the organic search, the bounce rate, and the session duration. And so those things are exactly what they sound like. Organic search is going to show you if the keywords you're using are working. They're going to show you how many people are visiting your site. The bounce rate is going to show you whether people are actually navigating to other pages on your site. And then the duration is going to tell you how long people are on it. So that can be really helpful, because if you are, maybe a chef or an educator or something that naturally would require people to remain on that site for a while, then you want that higher duration. But if you're someone who has little tidbits of information and then you're kind of bouncing people off your site to something else, then a lower session duration is not the end of the world. So that's kind of a quick flyover there. We can definitely dive deeper into that, but I do want to leave time for us to ask some questions. So let's dive in there. If you have questions, please feel free to ask them now. I know that was a lot. And again, I'll be sharing this webinar afterwards. So if you have anything that you want to listen to again or look back through these slides, they will be available to you there along with the templates we discussed. So we've got a couple of minutes. Any questions? All right, let's see. We have one here. Terms since they're not super unique. Okay, so when we're talking about a communications consulting, or basically any business where the SEO terms may not be as unique, that's totally fine. I would explore other ways that people might look for your content. So, is there a specific problem that someone is coming to you to fix? Is there a specific question that people are asking that you can help answer? Thinking through essentially the way that other people might end up getting to your content is going to be really helpful. So if you feel like, oh, there's nothing super unique that I can use because this is, a pretty broad thing, or something like that, going through and updating your ideas there, asking people, whether it's previous or current clients or friends, family, hey, how would you search for this, or how would you look into this kind of stuff? That can be really helpful. Okay, so any other questions? Let's see. Piper is living her best life here. Oh, you're very welcome. All right, we've got about 5 more minutes. So if we have any more questions, I know that was a lot jam-packed into 30 minutes. And so if you have more questions that you want to go in depth about, you're more than welcome to shoot me an email. Again, if you want to, I'll stay on here till exactly 5, but let's talk a little bit about what you can expect to come up next. So within the next 24 hours, probably before the end of the night tonight, because that's always my goal. Oh, we do have some more. Okay, we'll get to those in just a second. So you'll get the follow-up email with all the resources, links, tools, templates, as much as I can possibly give you. You will get it in this beautiful email that I'm going to put together for you, and it's going to include a feedback form. And I use these feedback forms. That's really, really helpful to me because it helps me to know what to do for the next session. So I look at every single answer, and I appreciate them so much. So if you have the time to spend a couple minutes updating that and sharing your thoughts there, I would love that. And then you'll get an invite and a reminder for next week, and then a recording of this webinar. And so next week we're going to talk about social media accounts and optimizing them, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But let's get back to some of these questions real quick. So does a website builder such as Squarespace build some of these things into it? So that's a great question. Squarespace is intended and does kind of optimize for some of that, but you can go in and update your SEO in particular, and I recommend that. So I have a Squarespace site, and I've been working on my SEO for that, and so it's really simple, and I do like it. So some of them build it into it a little bit, and then some are completely customized. So that's a great question. Is this only a forward-looking tool, or can you look back? Barbara, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I'm going to say maybe both. Let me get back to you on that. And then we have another question. SEO, this is I'm so glad this was helpful, Julie. I'm very, very glad. So I hope you guys did find this entire webinar helpful. And if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. I do work with WordPress and Squarespace, some Shopify as well. And so if you have questions particularly about either of those or any of those platforms, really, I'm more than happy to help you see what kind of system your website uses to update your SEO. Does Shopify help with SEO? I believe so. They have a similar setup to Squarespace where they kind of already optimized for it, but you can definitely customize it. So it's kind of hard to show sometimes without having it on the screen, but if you have a question about that, just shoot me an email and we can look at it together and make sure that it's up there for you. Awesome. Yes, cool. Great. Wonderful. Wow. Okay, so we kind of finished on time. I know that was a big, quick run through, and I'm so glad that y'all were able to make it, for those of you who were here, and that many of you hopefully found this helpful. Like I said, next week we're going to talk about social media, specifically Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then the following week, we're going to talk about LinkedIn, Pinterest, and TikTok. So if you have any questions about those, feel free to join us then. And if you have questions ahead of time or anything in particular that you'd like me to touch on in the webinar, feel free to send me an email with that question and say, hey, here's a question for next week's webinar. That would be really great as well. So I'm going to let you guys go. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out. I'm so thankful you all were able to join, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Thanks so much.